Hi. Reading story. We're on page 141. We were in the middle of talking about Samuel and his warning to the Israelites. They had realized that they were mistaken in asking for, or demanding, they didn't ask, they demanded a king.
It was too late for them to go back now.
So, after Samuel's stern warning, Saul attempted to reign successfully, but he seemed always to be one step behind common sense. When facing battle, Saul failed to measure the strength of the enemy and then impulsively took matters into his own hands while waiting for Samuel. What sort of king was this? Impulsively took matters into his own hands after failing to measure the strength of the enemy. That speaks to basically all of us when we're trying to maybe stop a habit that the Lord's putting on our heart to stop. We fail to measure the strength of the enemy because usually it's wrong thinking. And we don't consider... Cruz, will you turn around this way, please? We don't consider all, like we think, in the heat, in the height of the moment, you're like, oh, I can do this. It's no problem. But things get hard and you haven't thought through how to overcome the hard spot. And usually, actually, what I've been learning is it's imagining the Lord with you, imagining what it would look like walking in the Lord's way, and imagining yourself doing that. That's for just habits. Now Saul's fighting actual people.
I think I understand what that feels like. Thinking you can do it, and then
you
don't think you can.
You fail to realize that it's a stronghold, and the devil creates strongholds in our minds through ways of thinking, patterns of thinking. He gets us comfortable in wrong thinking, and because we're comfortable in it, we like comfort. And even though it's wrong thinking, we're comfortable in it, and so he's built up a wrong way of thinking, and we think, oh, that's no problem, but then you get into the moment and you slide right back into that comfortable way of thinking. Okay, so Saul was 30 years old when he became king. Oh, and also Saul acted impulsively. That's a definite indicator of the flesh. Impulsive action. Rash. Saul was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned over Israel for 42 years. Saul chose 3,000 men from Israel. 2,000 were with him at Michmash. It's kind of a fun name. And in the hill country of Bethel. And 1,000 were with Jonathan at Gibeah in Benjamin. The rest of the men he sent back to their homes. Jonathan attacked the Philistine outpost at Gibeah, and the Philistines heard about it. Then Saul had the trumpet blown throughout the land and said, "Let the Hebrews hear." So all Israel heard the news. This was the news. Saul has attacked the Philistine outpost, and now Israel has become obnoxious to the Philistines. Obnoxious, just totally annoying. And the people were summoned to join Saul at Gilgal. The Philistines assembled to fight Israel. They had 3,000 chariots, 6,000 charioteers, and soldiers as numerous as the sand on the seashore. So as far as you could see, there were soldiers. They went up, I guess meaning the Philistines, and camped at Michmash, east of Beth-aven. When the Israelites saw that their situation was critical and their army was hard-pressed, they hid in caves and thickets, among the rocks, in pits, and in cisterns. So they hid anywhere they could find. They were hiding all over. Some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul remained at Gilgal, and all the troops with him.
I would hide in the Jordan.
Gilgal is a significant place because that's where Joshua, where the Lord asked them to circumcise the Israelites because they hadn't been circumcised all throughout the wilderness, and he rolled away the reproach of Israel. He waited 7 days, the time that was set by Samuel, but Samuel did not come. And Saul's men began to scatter. And so Saul said, "Bring me the burnt offering and the fellowship offerings." And Saul offered up the burnt offering. Just as he finished making the offering, Samuel arrived.
I know he was like trying to push the elder out of the way. "Hey, Samuel!" I waited.
Saul went out to greet him. "What have you done?" asked Samuel. Saul replied, "When I saw that the men were scattering and that you did not come, because you did not come at the set time, and that the Philistines were assembling at Michmash, I thought, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the Lord's favor, so I felt compelled to offer the burnt offering." "You have done a foolish thing," said Samuel. "You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command." This is where the saying comes, the Lord desires what over sacrifice? Obedience. Because Saul's like, "Look at all that I've sacrificed for the Lord." And he's like, "Okay, but you didn't obey. Your priority is to obey. You haven't done what he's asked." And that's also where the thinking comes in, well, I did all these good things. Look at the good things I did. And they're like, "Okay, but you didn't do what you've been asked to do. Do what you've been asked to do. Then, if there's extra or there's time or there's, then after that, do the good. Give the sacrifice. But do what you've been asked to do. Obey first." Remember, we obey all the way, right away obey. And with a happy heart. So Samuel said to Saul, "I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over the people of Israel. So listen now to this message from the Lord. The Lord Almighty says, I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them." Don't know what the word waylaid means. Waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. I have a feeling it means something along the lines of took them out, took them down, defeated them, treated them bad, somewhere around there. Lost my place. "Now, go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death them all, including the cattle and the sheep and the camels and the donkeys."
What? What did they ever do?
The Lord is showing you, it's really a picture of that the people are one people. And if your leader is not obeying and following the Lord, it affects everyone. So Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt. It's the same thing, like when you choose to walk in the Lord's way, it's a blessing upon your generations. He blesses you to 1,000 generations when you choose life. But if you choose death, it affects your whole family.
And if everyone in your family chose life, then your family would be blessed till the end of time.
Now, Saul took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with the sword. Uh-oh, what did you hear? But Saul and the army spared Agag. What was the instruction?
Totally wipe out.
Totally destroy. He spared Agag and the best of the sheep and the cattle, the fat calves and the lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak they totally destroyed. Saul sinned against God again. It was just after Samuel had told him, obey the Lord, do what he has asked you. He desires obedience over sacrifice.
If I was one of Saul's soldiers, I would have just destroyed everything as well.
This is where it comes in. The Lord's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. If he said to do it, he said to do it. Now, the time of war is over. Jesus took out the time of war. He brought in the time of peace. The way to win the victory is no longer violence. So let's just say that, my friends. Because if he was going to win the war over death with violence, he wouldn't have had Peter put that guy's ear back on.
He would have told him, take off the other one too.
He wouldn't have gone to the cross. But, okay, so God had instructed them to destroy all of the Amalekites and all of the property and all of the livestock. But they spared what was, they thought, in their minds, they thought, well, this stuff is good, so we're going to spare it. It was disobedience. And Samuel was sad that Saul had failed as king, and he warned Saul that his time was up. It was time to find a successor. But having enjoyed the perks of the high office, Saul would not go without resistance. All right, we're going to stop there. We will pick back up chapter 11. It will be starting chapter 11 on page 145. Goodbye, people. Goodbye.